Hello and welcome to another episode of Quick and Nerdy, an MSP-friendly how-to channel dedicated to Veeam-powered BAS and DRAS offerings. As always, I'm your host, Brandon McCoy, and today we are here with Veeam Backup and Replication version 13. Now, it is May of 2025, and right now we're in the beta. We're getting closer and closer to that GA. If you're watching this video within this time frame, you can always reach out to your sales rep or to your systems engineer and get your hands on a copy of the beta to test it out for yourself. In today's video, we're not doing anything like a deep dive. Instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the new features that are coming, some of the things that are being removed in terms of features and system requirements that are changing, and then we're going to look at the actual backup and replication beta. We're going to show you around what it looks like. So just a good general overview. We're not going to do any kind of installation or deep dive. But with that, let's go ahead and jump in. So just a couple slides. A lot of these features were announced at VeeamON. This is by no means a definitive list of all the features, just some of those that were announced and some of the ones that caught my eye. And I think one of the big ones to talk about here is the fact that version 13 is a software appliance. So Veeam has always been an application that you install on a Windows machine. I've been here for 8 years. That's always been my talk track, and man, how that has changed from Veeam just being software and only running on Windows and only backing up virtual machines. Well, the Linux OS is now a big part of that. So the software appliance is something that you install on a bare metal machine or on a virtual machine that has the OS and everything included. Everything is kind of built with just the right things in mind. For instance, the Just Enough OS. So everything is kind of pinpoint precisioned in terms of installation. All of the patching and the maintenance is handled for you as well, so you don't have to worry about security patches and updates with the Windows or anything like that. You can deploy a lot of the components from here too for the proxies and the Linux hardened repositories. Those can all be deployed directly with these ISOs. We're also introducing high availability in case the backup server goes down. You have a secondary node. We're going to explore the different role-based access, and one of those is the security officer roles. So real quick, this is where, imagine you have someone who is not a user of backup and replication. They're not doing any jobs or restores, but they're the ones who are able to make important decisions. So a backup admin comes in, they try to do a delete operation or some kind of big change. The security officer, all they do is approve or not approve those types of decisions. We also have instant recovery to Azure. So, we've always had instant VM recovery to VMware and Hyper-V, at least for as long as I've been here. But it's always required a dedicated hypervisor to have that instant spin up. Well, now we're offering that with restoring your backups into Azure. And this is only supported at this time with Veeam's cloud, which is Veeam Vault. And then, as you can see, there's some additional improvements to immutability. This just reduces the amount of extra blocks for block generation and the way we do immutability in the background so that you don't have as much storage usage, and it reduces a lot of these API calls. We've also made some enhancements into Threat Hunter. It is now fully integrated into the malware detection engine. So lots of improvements around security. We'll show you some of these features in more detail as we go into the demo. I'll look at some of the features that are going bye-bye. So reverse incremental was one of the big ones. There is a forum post of things that are moving away internally, and I believe some of this is being discussed externally as well, but this was a pretty hot topic. Reverse incremental, the full backup is always the most recent restore point. Now, this sounds pretty good on paper, and for some scenarios it can be, but it requires a whole lot of I/O, and it's really just not used as often. The forever forward incremental method is used more often. We're also removing restore points and instead moving only to days, because let's face it, SLAs are not based on I always have to have 30 restore points. It's like I always have to have 30 days of backups, or I need to back up once an hour for 30 days. We're moving away from the old school backup files where you just have, let's say you have 10 VMs in a job and we create one file that has all of those VMs. Well, we also have per VM backup where every VM in the job is its own backup file. Now, this improves efficiency and I/O streams. It makes things faster and better. One of the downsides here is that We used to do it to where all of the VMs in one job would have some deduplication. So let's say all 10 of those VMs had the same operating system, that would be deduped and you would get some space savings. So that's going to be going away, and the best way to combat this is your repositories should be ReFS or XFS. So Windows ReFS is a file system. Linux is Linux XFS is the equivalent. And what this does is this does internal dedupe on the repository, so you're still getting those space saving benefits. You can see here we're also removing Veeam Cloud Connect through Active Directory based credentials and authorization. Done some things around retention. So if you remove machines from a backup job, we had a button in the maintenance to apply a sooner retention to remove those restore points. That's just kind of moved around. Some restore options through the Explorers. Now it's just done directly through the VBR console, some things with tape. And this one, the Cloud Connect portal. So I've been kind of waiting for this to go away. It's kind of redundant. So the Enterprise Manager is a web UI. There's still a big use case for that, but the Cloud Connect portal was a way for customers that were using Cloud Connect to go in and execute a failover from the web. Well, you can do that from the Service Provider console plus much more, so it's going away. In terms of system requirements, so there's some significant changes here. The AppAware, the vSphere, we're dropping 6, we're moving to 7. VMware Cloud Director, you got your Hyper-V and your Virtual Machine Manager, but I really want to focus here on the backup servers. So we've made some pretty aggressive trimming here, and this is really from a security perspective, and so that Veeam can take advantage of a lot of the technology enhancements in some of these later Windows systems. So the backup server now requires Windows 2016, or if it's not a server, Windows 11 22H2. You can see for the Linux appliance that Veeam operates, it is Linux Rocky 9.4, and for all of the other installable software that you would install yourself, it's going to be Red Hat. We're also completely removing support for CentOS from a Linux repository perspective. There were some talks about introducing Alma and Rocky, but there's been some changes with IBM and the way those things are handled, so we have kind of taken a pause on that for the time being. So that's all I got for you here. Let's jump right into the demo and take a look at V13. All right, so here we are in the demo lab, Veeam Backup and Replication version 13, and one of the first things you might notice is that this is a Windows machine. So you might be thinking, Brandon, you're lying to me. Well, not quite. So in this first version of the Linux appliance, there's actually a few things going on. So first of all, the software appliance is Linux, so you'll install this onto a machine. It has Linux as the OS. There's also a web UI where you can do a lot of the functionality, but you're still going to need a Windows machine for a lot of the functionality in this first version. Now, if you're familiar with the way vSphere did this, it's very similar. For a long time, vSphere had a Windows application, and then they released the web UI, and now it is a full OVA, and Veeam is following suit. So we're taking the most popular features, putting those onto the web UI, and then we're going to continue porting over features over time. But for now, you will still need a Windows machine for a lot of the advanced functionality. So I'll kind of show you the differences in the different interfaces. So I've got a Linux appliance, I've got my Windows server for the console, and the web UI for a lot of the functionality. Now, as I mentioned, there is high availability, so you can see right here where it's a specified backup server, and I've got my 2. This 1.102 is my failover, so I'm going to go ahead and log in to .103, and we'll connect here. So you can see here we've got the new interface. Really liking the colors, the graphical interface. There has been a redesign to the UI, and I was able to sit in on some conversations with some of the PMs who talked about the redesign, and basically what they wanted was a new look and feel, right? We want to keep things modern and keep things fresh, but we didn't want existing Veeam users to feel like they're having to learn things all over again. A lot of times that'll make people kind of start looking at other backup softwares. So it's going to be very similar. And what's also really cool is all the other Veeam products are going to start to have the same similar look and feel. So you should be able to navigate one product just like any other product. So here we are. Let's center this for you. And so this is the Windows console version. I'll show you the web UI in just a moment. If I go to the hamburger icon here, let's take a look first at users and roles. I'm going to go to roles. Now we can see these different types of roles here. This is the same thing. So in version 12, I don't know if it was, I think it was 12.1, maybe 12.3, I'm not sure, but we do already have some of these role-based access features. But the difference here in version 13 is I can add a role and I can customize it to a scope. So I can say backup operator, and I can limit this to, let's say, only specific virtual machines or hosts, only specific computers or file shares or unstructured data. I can specify only specific repositories, right? And it's the same thing from a restore perspective. So I thought that was kind of neat. We also have this identity provider right here. So enable SAML authentication for third-party authorization. If I'm not mistaken, this is only available through the Enterprise Manager previously. So a lot of this is the same, it's again the same look and feel. There hasn't been a ton of changes to a lot of the things that you're used to, but there's some new icons, some new clickables. Let's take a look at a backup job. So we got the job name, what you want to back up, the repository and the proxy. As we mentioned, the restore policy, or I'm sorry, the retention policy, the restore points are no longer here, and it's just the number of days. And I like how it tells you right here, with the incremental backup mode, some restore points will be stored for longer than the specified retention because the entire backup chain can only be deleted after its last dependent incremental backup. And there's some stuff in the Help Center that goes into details. That's not a new way that we do backups. It's just that they've added it into the interface, and I've noticed that here and there they're doing that more and more, like telling you need ReFS or XFS, or telling you, hey, so if you do this type of backup, there'll be more restore points. So just giving you more information and making the wizard just that much more easy. If I click the advanced job settings, again, just a lot of the same. So not a whole bunch has changed, but just again, a newer look and feel. So you shouldn't have a hard time moving through this if you're already familiar with Veeam. And even if you're new to Veeam, it's very straightforward, very easy. So for instance, like these items right here, these are all the same in backup and replication right now, but there's actually a little box icon to do those credentials or do the test. Now you just click the link of the actual text. So kind of making things more concise. I like it. So I want to show you one more thing here, and then we're going to move on to the web UI. This is perhaps my favorite feature of all. Drum roll, please. So let's click on the hamburger icon, and let's scroll all the way down to color theme, and I'm going to switch to dark mode, baby. So we now have dark mode for backup and replication. A little bit easy on those eyes, and I'm super pumped for this. Let me know in the comments if you are too. With that, let's move on to the web UI. So I'm going to have to log in here. It logged me out after a few minutes. Put in my credentials here. So here we can see the web UI. I'm on a remote console, so forgive me if everything's a little squished, but you can see here kind of everything going on. I've got a resiliency overview score. We introduced this in Veeam 1 recently with the Threat Detection Center, giving you an overall data protection score so you can very easily see what you're doing right and what you can maybe improve on. So we're adding that into the web UI here as well. number of workloads protected. So just a lot of good information that's really easy to click on and see. You've got the jobs here. So, I can come in here, I can create a job, I can edit a job, just like I can from the console. Add the machines from the host, right? So this is where you're going to see a lot of, I would say, differences in the look and feel. I mean, we've got the new icons and some move arounds in the console, but here is just like another look and feel, and you kind of got your choice of what you like. And again, as we port more and more features over into the web UI, you'll have more and more choice, whereas a lot of those things still have to be done from the console today. All right, but I can create jobs, do the guest processing, schedule. I can go to my existing backups, I can select one, and I can do instant recovery, entire recovery, and guest file restore, right? So a lot of the more advanced restore options aren't here just yet, but I do have the capability of some of the classics. All right, let's keep clicking here. I've got my different repositories. I can add those here as well. I can add proxies. I can add managed servers. Maybe you're adding different components. You're adding virtual platforms. I can search logs, different events, malware events for the malware detection engines that we have. Veeam 1 being integrated into the web UI as well. And we're back on the main screen. So again, there's more features, there's deeper dives, there's a lot more to this, but I just wanted to give you all a quick overview, show you some of the new features, show you what it looks like, show you some of the things that are moving away and some changes to the overall Veeam environments. And with that, I think we'll end the video here. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, keep on Veeaming in the free world.